Hey, Call Me Clay.
I did bring this up.
Hey, Call Me Clay declared the PCVR is dead. So, Clay, explain
First
yourself.
off, I didn't declare that anything was dead. I just decided to bring it to this forum to have a discussion. Okay, so here's where this started in my brain space. Mike had popped in the stream and we were talking
Don't
about
pull me into this. Don't pull
some
me
of
into
the
this.
games. Oh, totally pulling you into this. Totally pulling you into this.
No, I didn't.
Because you started it. You totally started
My
it.
name. What? My name's
You
Ben and I
poked the
ain't in
bear.
it.
Anyway, I've been playing Vertigo. And I've been having a blast. I've been playing a lot of PCVR. So Mike got on my case about spending $1,600 on this PC that I never used. I built it and then never touched it for a month. So I finally was like, okay, I'm going to start using this for PCVR. And I've re-fallen in love with PCVR. It's been such a really great experience to experience some of the games that were built before my introduction into VR, which was around 2020. And I picked up a game, Wilson's Heart. I talked about it in our last session. And minus a couple of things that showed its age in terms of movement, the game ran and was absolutely beautiful. And that game was from 2017, right? But the question is, we haven't seen sometimes that caliber or that quality since the introduction of the Quest. I understand why. We can talk about that today or whatnot. But it made me wonder, well, we're not really still investing in PCVR. Even when you connect your Quest to your PC, it says your Rift is connected. It's not even an updated version. It's not even acknowledging that the connection is even via Quest. It just says Rift when I connect it to Oculus. And we also discussed how the cross-buy might be going away at some point. So when you put those signals together, is PCVR have some level of time left to be in market? I don't know. And I kind of wanted to bring it up because while I've loved kind of digging in the PCVR closet, is there time left? Is the time ticking? I don't know. Do I need to just sever my relationship with it now before I re-fall in love with something that's going to end up dying?
Before I take Marty's chain off and let him attack you, because he's literally raring to get you. I just got to say this: everything you said was meta specific.
I'm just putting the question out there.
Yeah, everything you said was meta specific. I think as far as meta goes, they're done with PCVR. There is still very much life in that ecosystem, but I think the Rift store, that platform, is going to. I mean, it's already withering and dying a slow death. So
okay. But let's have that. I mean, you could take off the chains. Marty can come after me. But my point is, fine, if it's not prioritized by Meta, it's prioritized by Valve / Steam to have that level of that marketplace still exists. We're talking about people who are going to get PC VR specific headsets, and is that worth it? Knowing that you can get a Quest headset for cheaper and have 2 sets of ecosystems to play around with.
Yes,
Marty wants to say something. Go ahead.
There we go. Yes,
Marty.
yes. So
I'm just going to turn my camera off. I'm just going to turn my camera off.
A deep soul search these past for 2 months, I would say. So I mean, I announced on Twitter I pre-ordered the big screen Beyond, so I've been in their Discord and stuff like that. And honestly, people are really fiending for smaller form factor PC VR headsets. So that's why whenever a Quest headset drops, you'll literally see. Now, I did the research because the video coming out later this week. You will see a uptick in the amount of players for a lot of PC VR games like Ghost of Tabor, VR Chat, Beat Saber. The main culprits that people buy PCs to play. And so I feel like there's still a need for PC VR. I don't think it's going to die anytime soon because you got hardcore communities who keep coming back to PC VR. You got Flight Sim, Racing Sim, VR Chat. I mean, the Uwu gang, they strong out here, you feel me? And so, I mean, if you want to be a lolly or a furry with face tracking, full body tracking, you're going to need a PC as of right now. Now, that doesn't mean within a year or two, is it going to be probably full body tracking for Quest, native? We don't know. I mean, probably we can assume, right? But as of right now, they're looking for what's the next big PC VR headset that I can put on to dance as a small anime child? I mean, it is what it is.
So you're not wrong. And I think there's 2 parts of this argument, right? The first one is there's the hardware side that you kind of just talked about. And then there's the software side. You mentioned games that all already exist. right? Are people building net new experiences specifically just for PCVR? I know the answer is yes, but is that gonna stay around? Because the profitability isn't quite in PCVR, and that's where the discussion comes, right? The profitability, you want to hit the masses, you got to go with the Quest. Theoretically,
a lot of times what these companies are doing, they're using PCVR as a launch pad. So like Ghost of Tabor, I'm thinking Population One. I can name them. I mean, usually what these companies will do, or these indies will do, they'll start off on PC, build up a community, build up a following, then they'll launch over to the meta store where there obviously is more money. So that does mean that, you know, some of these PC VR game communities are dying, but in terms of being completely dead, I don't think no.
Pavlov's a great example of that too. Pavlov's a great example of that.
Pavlov, yep. Contractors. A lot of the people playing contractors are on the Quest because I mean, if you're turning around shooting stuff, it's easy to do it without a wire. Just being honest with you. And so, I feel like new software. I feel like we'll get some eventually, but as of right now, I think it's kind of just like in a slump. But as of just straight dying, like it's done. No.
You know, as the only person on here who is not a PC user, but you know, say I'm the only one I think that's not really. I don't own a PC. I'm a Mac guy, but I think it's fair to say that PCVR isn't dying, but I would like to get a PC one day to play those high-end games. But I think you have to go in with your eyes wide open, knowing that you're going in for the back catalog, and you shouldn't expect much in future releases. So if you're going knowing that, and you already spent the $1,600 investment, I think you'll be satisfied. But I don't think looking for a robust new library of games is realistic when you follow the money.
Facts.
I completely agree, right? The new library may not exist. Now, there are some developers, like you mentioned, Mike, Unity Farm Dev. He was explicitly and exclusively PCVR right now.
Shout out to Rathan.
Because some people do want to.
Are you watching?
Yep. Want to have and build that very specific experience, which, again, I've really appreciated. Playing a game from 2017 that looks better than some of the games I've ever played in VR in the last 4 years, I was blown away that it held up that well. And it was like, wow, can we get more of this? And I'm kind of sad to say I don't really know.
So okay.
Oh, you want to go?
Go ahead, Jay. Go ahead, Jay.
Jay's been let him out his cage too.
I just want to say something. Please look at me on the camera here. Gonna point a few times. So I do not believe PCVR is going anywhere. In fact, I think PCVR is evolving. So personally, I believe I'm about to bring it, brother.
Okay.
So there's a game that just came out on the Quest platform called Dragon Front Rising. It was originally released in PCVR on the Rift platform. It was a game that a lot of people, I think Palmer Luckey even, it was quoted that he used to play that on the Rift platform way early in the days. And I sat through a whole hour of Sallius Bradley's rant on Quest 3 to listen to his talk, because I do like to digest as much information about different opinions from different folks, especially people who like to break down the technical pieces. He had a quote. He was like, basically, he's like, where Quest 3 is at today power-wise is like a 980 graphics card that could play really good, lower level 2016, 2017 level graphics for PCVR. And so I started to think, I was like, okay, so they're bringing back this game from back in the day into the Quest platform, and you got this huge catalog of these types of games and experiences that were only built for PCVR, could only work on PCVR. Could we begin to see over the next year or two more of those games begin to trickle out? I was just in a playtest earlier today for a game I can't talk about, but the game ran so well. I was listening to the developer talk about like how they are what they're able to do with the Quest 3, and I'm like, I'm looking at the graphics in the headset, and I'm like, how are y'all able to do this? And it's like, oh yeah, and we're held back, like, if this gets into the Arizona Sunshine piece, but we're held back so much because we still have to keep it for Quest 2, where it's the main population. I mean, go to Amazon, guys. Walmart, this thing is selling out. Quest 2 is selling out. Okay, so we got some new folks joining the metaverse. We got new folks joining VR for the first time. That's right. Hello. Please subscribe to all of our channels. But the main thing here is I think it's evolving. I think Project Avalanche, we kind of talked about it a little bit the last podcast, where there's a possibility of cloud gaming coming. I think the Rift platform goes away, but then there's this thing of, oh, here's this back catalog of all these games. How are you going to play them if there's no store? Well, subscribe to Quest, this subscription service of some sort, and now you get to play all these old PCVR games, but on your Quest platform without a PC, and now there's this evolution that happens, and we don't no longer have to have a distinction between PCVR and standalone. It's just VR. I think that's where we're heading. I mean, I did just see, though, I just want to say this and I'm done, that there is a game that's specifically only coming off of PCVR right now. It looks like a RPG, fantasy RPG. I can't remember the name of it.
Arcane Age. Arcane Age.
Yes. And it looks in baby.
It is.
I think it's so.
And so you see that and you go, okay, and here's the thing too. You got to think about that too. PSVR 2, PlayStation VR 2 is actually out now, and that's like the new playground for people to really bring the high fidelity graphics as well.
Right.
So when you kind of have both of those going, I think we're just about to begin to see it's not so much about the PCVR anymore. It's just more just about, and you can't forget Apple. You cannot forget Apple is out there, and they're able to run PlayStation level graphics on the phone. So what can the actual Apple Vision Pro do when it comes out? I can't talk about too many things, but I can say this for sure. There is a lot coming for the Quest platform. There's a lot coming for Apple. There's a lot coming for Samsung and Google, what they're coming for. And so my mindset is we won't need a distinction between PCVR and regular VR. It's just going to be VR. It's just going to be, what do I want to play and what platform do I want to play it on? It's no longer going to matter. We're going to get to the point where you have Xbox, PlayStation, PC. It launches everywhere. So we're going to have Quest, PlayStation, and PC. It's not going to matter. That's not going to matter.
I want to tag on one point to like the end of that. And I ain't gonna lie, and this is just me being honest. I think a lot of PC VR people have to kind of temper their expectations when it comes to like graphics and a lot of these newer games.
I agree.
Because I'm even though I'm not gonna lie, even if I'm a dev, I'm not about to sit here and make like 80 versions of the same game just because you want to want to see Half-Life Alyx again for the like for the third time. It's like I think people have to realize like these devs are already on like tough schedules, tough deadlines. They can only really make one version of the game. No, it's not gonna look like Half-Life Alyx, but I mean it's still a VR game. So there's still a lot of fun games, which may not look like the next hot thing, but they still are great games that they still play. So I think some people have to kind of temper the expectations moving forward because there's not enough resources to do all that.
Mike, you need to bless them with that, with the explanation with the devs. Give them a breakdown of how this stuff really works, because I think a lot of times, not this group, but a lot of times people don't really understand how development really goes and why you have to specifically tackle a particular area.
So there's this assumption that I'll start with PCVR. There's this assumption that since you're building for PSVR 2, you can just port it over and build it directly in the PCVR build, and it does not work that way. Software development kits are completely different in Sony's ecosystem versus developing for PC. I can't even say that Valve has an SDK for their headset because it's all PC specific. And then at that point, if you're in PCVR, now you're expected to, why doesn't this work with my Rift CV1? And all that crap starts happening. So PCVR in general is very complicated to develop for. And no matter what you do, you're always going to have errors. Marty, I know you've seen tons of Steam reviews where they're like, this doesn't have controller bindings for my Reverb G2, or, there's so many different factors that go into that it is being multi-platform in itself is difficult, but developing on PC, and that's not just limited to VR, is very, very difficult. All the GPU and CPU and motherboard combinations and all that stuff. And then tackle on 15 different headsets on top of that. We're about to get to Beyond. I'm going to bridge it to the XR4 in a minute. There's just so many different variables to factor in there. And a lot of these teams aren't very big. They're 50 people or less.
And
so at that point, you got to march
because we're protecting as an industry the profitability of the space, right? And so we're seeing leaner teams, we're seeing fewer dev resources, and we're expected to do more. And I find it just to be not impossible, but as we all know, the hardware part of this industry is so fragmented, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like Varjo just announced one today, and Mike, you mentioned how many were released last year, like headsets or something.
I didn't know about Varjo, but counting Beyond, which is coming out, I think I counted 12 in the last 12 months.
Talk about fragmentation. Where do you put your energy, right?
Yeah.
Something
I want to
think
piggyback
about.
on something Dunn said about Project Avalanche, and to counter what I said earlier, I think the key here is cloud changes the whole conversation. I think once the cloud factor is factored in, you can have high-end PC gaming, like Dunn said, on every device. So the platform itself doesn't become, it's not a factor anymore, unless you're talking about building hardware-specific, unique experiences, which is what Meta is also attempting to do, which is what's interesting about what Meta's doing. They're trying to win on both fronts. And I think one company that we're not talking about enough because they've been playing real quiet, I'm very curious to see what Google's going to do in the space again when they come back in, because they're one of the few people with the infrastructure to bring all this stuff together. So, yeah, I think we will maybe see high-end PC gaming again, just in the cloud.
And Kim, and let's fix this real quick too. So PCVR, we got to remember what age we're in VR.
Yeah.
We're in Atari days, okay? We're not in Nintendo came into the home, and so here's the thing. When you go back to that golden age of gaming, Atari's in the living room, oh my God, I'm playing Pong. The graphics was horrible at home. Yep. You go to the arcade for the full-fledged, oh my God, look at this is really great. So did the arcade ever die? I still see arcade games come out right now. Arcades don't die. It's just that sooner or later the consoles begin to catch up. The gameplay begins to catch up, and now we have the arcade to have the experiments like Dance Dance Revolution. And there's different games that come out that can only be done on that set. Yes, you can get a mat at home, but it's not going to be the same as what you experience in the arcade. You still want to get a fight stick to play certain games like Street Fighter, etc. A lot of these games, when you go to Japan, you go to these different places, arcade has never died. So PCVR is still going to be here. It's not going to go anywhere. I just think we have to remember what age we're in. We haven't had our Nintendo moment yet. We haven't had our Sega Genesis moment yet. We haven't had the PlayStation, Xbox. We're still in Atari. Very, very early days. One dominant big player, but believe me when I tell you, the next few years, we're going to begin to see those platforms begin to shape up.
Yeah, I fundamentally, I agree, right? I think there's going to be a future of just VR, and then it will all look really great, right? As we think about the speed at which we're doing the development and the software and the hardware releases, Quest 1 came out in 2019, Quest 2 came out in 2020, Quest 3 in 2023. Like, these cycles aren't that long, right?
Yeah.
And so from the Quest 1 to the Quest 3 was 4 years. 4 years. So give us another 2 or 3 or 4 years. What will it look like?
Oh, yeah, man.
Something to think about.
Qualcomm already said they're working on
it's not dead, but
Qualcomm already said they're working on the XR3 for those new high-end headsets we just talked about. So, the next couple of years is about to be wild for sure. I want to make one more point, then we'll move on. Because, Clay, you kind of latched on to, like, mainstream adoption early in your soliloquy. And I just want to point out that for companies like Big Screen, they don't need millions of sales to make market penetration. They're selling the Big Screen Beyond for $1,000 without base stations and without controllers. It's just a headset. So if, let's just say, out of the Valve Index upgrade star of people that didn't proceed to just go to Quest, and they've been sitting there signaling, I know multiple people like this who have just been waiting for a Valve Index replacement, and that copium, Valve taking a sweet time. So, that copium starting to run out. That tank's starting to run out. You know what I'm saying? You can only refill that tank so many times.
Can't give it to everybody.
So let's just do the math. If 100,000 Big Screen Beyonds get sold at $1,000 a piece, that's $100 million in revenue. Now take out R&D and all that stuff. You still just made $100 in revenue off one product. For a company big screen size, that's a win. That's a win. And that's going to allow them to go get investors for bigger projects, get funding for bigger projects, and make something, their next generation. Again, the first generation of most tech is not what the second and third and fourth generations are.
Absolutely.
That's everything from the first Apple Watch to the first iPhone to the Quest 1. So Big Screen Beyond is going to most likely going to turn a profit on the Beyond, And then that's with micro OLED already. What's headset 2 look like? What's Beyond 2 look like? If this is a success. So success doesn't mean tens of millions of people bought your product. It can mean you found a market for it and you expanded with your second product. That's perfectly fine. And really, that's how PCVR kind of got its legs. Enthusiasts sold it and then got more people into it.
It makes me more excited about where this is going to head. Yeah, 100%. I'm stoked with where this is going to head. It was just an interesting thought exercise that I had this week. And I was like, let's bring it up with the melanated virtual boys real quick and see what we think.
That's it.
Remix. Come on, man. The remix.
Just go buy your Quest 3 right now. Just what are you doing?
Yeah, right.
What are you doing? Come on.
Marty, I'm going to admire your restraint because I would have unleashed. I would have been spitting fire.
Nobody said it was dead. I'm just saying, think of, from a. You're right, to your point, Mike. From a mass market option, like we just talked about, people are still selling out of Quest 2s,
which is
right?
crazy. Yeah,
selling out of Quest 2s. Tell me what the argument is for them for PCVR. It's not there. But to your point, Mike, it's with somebody else. It's with another market. What's how do we plant that seed?
Not every product is for. Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, not every product is for you. And I think a lot of people, especially in the VR space, forget that.
Correct.
Just because this is not a product meant for you doesn't mean it doesn't have a place.
100%.
Absolutely.
And I'm going to bridge this into the XR4 from Varjo. Just got announced today as we record this. We're just going to keep recording. We're not even at half an hour yet.
Oh.
So Varjo announced the XR4, which is supposed to be pretty much like human eyesight. Fully simulated human eyesight in virtual reality.
They're off by apparently 9 pixels per degree, but...
And they went into Apple's office.
We just don't give it to them.
Yeah, pretty much. And they just walked into Apple's office and said, "Y'all charging $3,500? Hold my beer. 4,000 for the base model, and that's starting. That's before any add-ons or like enterprise or business licenses or anything like. Do y'all understand how the enterprise and business licenses work for VR headsets? By the way,
no. Okay. Would you explain it,
man?
Sure.
I'd love to.
So essentially, when you buy a VR headset, if you use it for business, for like product demos or any kind of enterprise or professional relationship, you're supposed to actually buy an enterprise license for that. There's not for most of those, there's not a huge appreciable difference between the business edition and the regular edition. Now that changed a bit. Like Pico, for instance, had the enterprise edition of the Pico 4 that had face tracking and eye tracking. But most of the time you're paying for the license, which basically says, I'm going to use this to make money. Which I'm amazed none of these companies have come after content creators, but I think they realize we too broke and we ain't got money to pay them. So we can speak about content creators getting paid here in a bit too. But yeah, Clay, you brought it up. So XR4, $4,000. You buying it?
No. Didn't we talk last time? I'm not even buying the Apple one. And if I did want to buy one between the two, it'd be the Apple one just because I'm already in the ecosystem. 100%. And we just got off of a conversation about the non-death of PCVR. I don't see it in my life. I don't see it being additive in my life other than, holy crap, this looks great. Yeah. And it's just, I'm out $4,000.
Right.
Yeah.
Marty.
That's a lot.
Marty,
that's a lot.
Marty, you are Marty, the PCVR guy. Bro, I'm more interested in your thoughts than anyone else here. Right?
Look, I've never been one about, buying new toys, but damn, like $4,000, dog. I was like,
did you see the ad though? They made that thing look so editorial. It was like, this is a fashion shoot with a VR headset.
Oh yeah.
Did y'all